Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Common Skate Art Stream. My name is Brian. I hope you guys are doing well. I'm going to be working on Englewood today, silently, while I'm listening to some music. So you're welcome to hang out. I might say something later on. I don't know, but my tooth is really hurting right now. I do have a dentist appointment today. I'm excited about it. I've never been excited to go to the dentist, but I am, because I'm going to get a solution. So, hopefully. So yeah, that's in the afternoon. I also have a fireside chat later on in a couple of hours with the CEO of eGuard Watches. They made that great response ad to the Gillette ad, and the CEO of the company agreed to come on for a fireside chat, so I'll be talking to him in just a couple of hours. So in the meantime, just hang out and listen to these beats while I work on Englewood, issue number 1. Thanks guys for hanging out.
Akira.
By the way, that song you guys heard in the beginning before we got started, it's called Cielo by Huma Huma, Huma, and that is indeed the Independent Man outro. I like that song that he plays at the end. So
you have to figure out what it is. What will work for you? What goal would justify the suffering of your life? Start trying to piece that together. You're going to get better at it. Start trying to piece that together. You're going to get better at it. But it's a personal process, so you need a personal place to stand, because otherwise you're going to be handed a place to stand on a plate. And it may be one that makes you a puppet of someone else's goals. So I would say, what are the processes? Well, I think what I've recommended to people is clean up your room. 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 Then you'll know what to do next. See if you can stop saying things you know to be lies. That's not the same as telling the truth. You don't get to do that to begin with, because you're not good enough at it to even attempt it in some sense. But everyone can stop saying things they know to be falsehoods. Stop saying things that violate your conscience. Here's another idea. Stop saying and doing things that make you feel weak. All you have to do is pay attention to that. Some things you do will make you feel disintegrated. It's a physiological sensation. Some things improve your integrity and some things disintegrate you. The things that disintegrate you, you often do to impress other people. You're escaping what you know to be your moral obligation, and your moral obligation stems naturally from your aims. And if you don't have an aim, well then, you're aimless. Clean up your room. 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 Then you'll know what to do next. I had a girl come up to me last night. She said, I started cleaning up my room and it completely changed my life. She said, your room is an externalization of your mind. And that's right. That's exactly true. To the degree that you're in your room, the room is you. So straighten up what you can straighten up and quit saying things that make you feel weak. And then you'll know what to do next. Clean up your room. 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 Clean up human history have not had a room. You have a room. Well, my room's a hellhole. It's like, well, then you're a denizen of hell inhabiting it. You should do something about that. Well, what? Well, put it in minimal order. Get your clothes together, because you have to wear those. People are looking at your clothes. What clothes should you be wearing? Not the clothes of a total wretched loser. How about that? Yes. What about your bed? Well, is it comfortable? Do you make it in the morning so it looks like half civilized? Can you sleep there? It's like, is there junk everywhere so you just hate your life when you walk into your room? It's like, clean the damn thing up. See if you can do it. Order your drawers. Learn to fold your clothes. Put it in minimal order. And then, man, you could get spectacular. You said, put a plant in there. It's like, maybe I could make it beautiful.
Without that beauty, there's no call to higher being. You know, this is also why, you know, I've mentioned to people that they should clean up their rooms. That's become quite the internet meme. But I'm really serious about it, because it's really hard to do that. And it isn't just that you clean it up. You also make it beautiful.
Make it beautiful. Make it beautiful. Make it beautiful. Make it beautiful. Make it beautiful. It's really hard to make something beautiful. Make it beautiful. It's really worthwhile. Make it beautiful. It's really hard to make something beautiful. Make it beautiful. It's really worthwhile. What's really cool is if you learn to make something beautiful, even one thing, if you can just make one thing in your life beautiful, then you've established a relationship with beauty. And then you can start to expand that relationship with beauty out into the world, like into other elements of your life. And that is so worthwhile. It's just incredibly, crazily worthwhile. Make it beautiful. 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 It's really hard to make something beautiful. Make it beautiful. It's really worthwhile. Make it beautiful. It's really hard to make something beautiful. Make it beautiful. It's really worthwhile. People are terrified of it. People are terrified of color. They paint their walls beige. They're terrified of art. They buy some mass-produced thing because they don't want anybody laughing at them for their lack of taste. And they would get laughed at because they have no taste. But you have to, well, it's right. Because what do you know, right? You have to develop it. And so you're going to stumble along and make mistakes to begin with. And you're going to show yourself. Because if you buy, I think this is pretty. And, you know, somebody comes over and goes, hey, what's up with you? It's kind of hard on your self-esteem. But it's you're stumbling towards the right. You're stumbling towards the kingdom of God. That's what you're stumbling towards when you try to make an aesthetic decision. Make it beautiful. 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 It's really hard to make something beautiful. Make it beautiful. It's really worthwhile. Make it beautiful. It's really hard to make something beautiful. Make it beautiful. It's really worthwhile. Beauty is absolutely terrifying to people because beauty highlights what's ugly. And so if you start to make your room beautiful, then everything around that isn't like that just starts to glow in the worst sense. It's terribly dangerous. That's why people are afraid of beauty, but it's the greatest thing you can do. Beautiful things are beautiful for a reason. That beauty has depth, like it's real depth, man. That's what gets you in touch with the transcendent and the divine is beauty. You introduce that into your room, you're playing with fire.
And people will resist it.
Make it beautiful. 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 It's really hard to make something beautiful. Make it beautiful. It's really worthwhile. Make it beautiful. It's really hard to make something beautiful. Make it beautiful. It's really worthwhile. I was in this museum a while back. It was full of these paintings from the late Renaissance. There's like a dozen of them in this one room. Every painting on that wall was worth $300 million, like minimum. You couldn't buy those paintings. Like there was like a dozen of them in there. I thought, wow, there's like $3.6 billion worth of paintings in this room. And people are making pilgrimages from all over the world just to look at them. It's like, what the hell's going on? It's like, yeah, no kidding. What the hell's going on? There's beauty in those paintings. There's beauty and it's magnificent. And part of what it does is say, you aren't who you should be. That's what beauty does to you. That's why you're intimidated by a beautiful woman. A staggeringly beautiful woman. It's like, oh my God. You know, attracted for sure, but definitely intimidated. It's like, well, that's because you aren't who you could be. Beauty beauty does that to you, because beauty has that contrast. I've really been trying to make sense of this, because, well, what the hell's going on? Why am I selling out 3,000 person auditoriums? I use the stage, let's say, as a opportunity in real time to think. I've been thinking, well, if you're surfing, you don't confuse yourself with the wave. The wave. The wave. That's a real mistake. You might be on top of the wave. You're not. The wave. The wave. The wave. That's a real mistake. You might be on top of the wave. You're not. The wave. I think this long-form discussion and the public hunger for that is best conceptualized like that. There's a technological revolution. It's a deep one. Online video and audio. Immediately accessible to everyone, all over the world. It's turned the spoken word into a tool that has the same reach as the printed word. So it's a Gutenberg revolution in the domain of video and audio. And it might be even deeper than the original Gutenberg revolution, because it isn't obvious how many people can read, but lots of people can listen. The wave. The wave. The wave. The wave. You might be on top of the wave. You're not. The wave. The wave. The wave. You might be on top of the wave. You're not. The wave. I mean, you got a little bit of that with TV, right? And you got a little bit of it with radio. But there was bandwidth limitations that were really stringent, especially in TV, where you could get 30 seconds if you were lucky and 6 minutes if you were stellar to elucidate a complicated argument. So you can't do that. Everything gets compressed to a kind of oversimplified entertainment. But now, all of a sudden, we have this forum for long-form discussion. Real long-form discussion. It turns out that everyone is way smarter than we thought. The wave. The wave. The wave. The wave. That's a real mistake. You might be on top of the wave. You're not. The wave. The wave. The wave. You might be on top of the wave. You're not. The wave. The people at the forefront of this are being cascaded forward like a surfer on a giant wave on this technological transformation. It's necessary to keep your ego under control. With regards to the people coming to see me, the proper attitude towards that, and I think this is true for any performer, is gratitude. You bloody well be happy those people are there, and you should never think there's something spectacularly special about yourself that's attracting these people, and that somehow you're above them and they're your fans, or there's this real power differential, even though that sort of manifests itself because people are so happy to see you. That's a dangerous pathway, and I truly am ridiculously overwhelmed and grateful and happy and pleased that all these people show up. Genie is the root word for genius. And it's a really interesting idea because there's this unlimited power that's associated with genius, but it's constrained. And that's really what the human spirit is like, because it has this aspect of the infinite, and it is something that can grant wishes, but it's also constrained terribly. I don't ask God for favors or for wishes or for wishes, you know? I don't ask God for favors or for wishes or for wishes, you know? We're constrained mortally and physically and all that. But the thing is that both the infinite possibility and the constraint are necessary. Right? That's what makes up the genie. It has to be both at the same time. And the idea that, if you find your genie, you can have your wishes. It's right. You have to really want what you're wishing for. Right? You have to make the proper sacrifices to get it. It can't be just some whim. You have to ask for something that you would rather not have, which is usually wisdom. Somebody asked me about prayer. They asked me if I prayed, and I thought, well, it depends on what you mean by that. Exactly. I don't ask God for favors or for wishes or for wishes. I don't ask God for favors or for wishes or for wishes. But I do think that if you sit on the edge of your bed and you ask what foolish thing you're doing to make it worse, that you'll get an answer right now. And it won't be the one you want, but it might be the one that if you listen to would set things straight. I don't think that I've ever been in a situation where if something wasn't going right for me and I sat and thought, okay, I'm willing to figure out what I'm doing wrong, which is a big thing to think because you never know how much you're doing wrong. It might be something that you really don't want to contend with. But if you clear some space to meditate on that, probability that you'll figure out something that you did that was stupid, that's bending you and twisting you in the wind, you'll get an answer very, very rapidly. I don't ask God for favors or for wishes or for wishes. I don't ask God for favors or for wishes or for wishes. And it's not obvious how you do that. It's not like how you're manipulating your neurons or something. It happens of its own accord in some sense, like you can participate in it, I guess, and you can interfere with it, and it seems to take a certain amount of willpower, but it still all happens mysteriously behind the scenes. And I would say this sort of attitude towards, let's say, prayer that we're discussing is just an extension of that. And it's something like, well, you admit that there's a problem first, and then you ask for the minimum necessary intervention, which would be, all right, well, I'd like to move forward on this, some small amount that someone like me could actually manage. I'd be willing to carry it out. And then you reorient the way you're thinking as a consequence of that, and something usually pops out of the abyss to guide you. Very strange, but it's not really any stranger than the fact that we can think at all. Because the fact that we can think is actually very strange. Strange like the fact that we can dream is strange. And that's strange beyond belief that you can dream, or that something in you dreams, which is a much better way of thinking about it, because it's not like you're really in control of your dreams. Better than alcohol, man. Yeah, and the funny thing is, if you're trying to stop drinking, you need something better than alcohol. And alcohol's pretty good. So you better find something a lot better, man. Esteemable people do esteemable things. It's like, yeah, well, you want to figure out something that you're doing with your life that's worth not getting drunk and screwing up. You might say, well, why do people drink too much? If you like alcohol, that's a stupid question. Why do people drink too much? Well, because it's great. So why stop? Well, you do stupid things when you're drunk. You hurt yourself, you compromise your health, it's really hard on the people around you, you tend to turn into a liar, and it screws up your life. It's like, yeah, but it's pretty fun. Yeah, well, it is, but something better than that. And what's better isn't being straight and not making mistakes. It's like that's all prohibition in some sense. What's better is, no, you need an adventure, man. Alcohol is an interesting drug. Alcohol, it's a hell of a drug. Alcohol, it's a great drug. But the problem is, it's a great drug. No, you need an adventure, man. You need to get out there and have something to do, something worth waking up for. That's the substitute for the addiction. Actually, the addiction is the substitute for that, if truth be known. Alcohol really is a good drug for coping with anxiety. It makes you more extroverted and enthusiastic, more full of positive emotion. And the second thing it does is reduce anxiety. It's a great drug. But the problem is, it's a great drug for the moment. Alcohol is an interesting drug. Alcohol, it's a hell of a drug. Alcohol, it's a great drug. But the problem is, it's a great drug. Alcohol is an interesting drug because it actually doesn't make people stupid. People who are drunk will take far more risk. And you might say, well, that's because they're too stupid to understand the risk. It's like, no, they're not. If you ask them about the risk when they're drunk, they can outline it perfectly. What it stops them from doing is caring about the risk. That's why you can drive around drunk at high speed in a car, which is a really stupid thing to do. It's fun, like so many things. It's like jumping off a cliff. I'm flying. True until the last 1/10 of a second. It's like then you're not flying, man. Alcohol is an interesting drug. Alcohol, it's a hell of a drug. Alcohol, it's a great drug. But the problem is, it's a great drug. Alcohol is an interesting drug. Alcohol, it's a hell of a drug. Alcohol, it's a great drug. But the problem is, there's consequences.
If you take people and you expose them voluntarily to things that they are avoiding and are afraid of, that they know they need to overcome in order to meet their goals, their self-defined goals. If you can teach people to stand up in the face of the things they're afraid of, they get stronger. And you don't know what the upper limits to that are, because you might ask yourself, if for 10 years, if you didn't avoid doing what you knew you needed to do, by your own definitions, right, within the value structure that you've created, to the degree that you've done that, what would you be like? 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 There are remarkable people who come into the world from time to time, and there are people who do find out over decades-long periods what they could be like if they were who they were. If they spoke their being forward. And they get stronger and stronger and stronger, and we don't know the limits to that. We do not know the limits to that. And so you could say, well, in part, perhaps the reason that you're suffering unbearably can be left at your feet, because you're not everything you could be, and you know it. You know it. You know it. Because you're not everything you could be, and you know it. You know it. You know it. What would you be like? 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 And of course, that's a terrible thing to admit, and it's a terrible thing to consider, but there's real promise in it, right? Because it means that perhaps there's another way that you could look at the world and another way that you could act in the world. So what it would reflect back to you would be much better than what it reflects back to you now. Imagine that many people did that. We've done a lot as human beings. We've done a lot of remarkable things. And I told you already today, for example, about 250,000 people will be lifted out of abject poverty. We're lifting people out of poverty collectively at a faster rate that's ever occurred in the history of humankind by a huge margin. So there's inequality developing in many places, and you hear lots of political agitation about that. But overall, the tide is lifting everyone up, and that's a great thing. We have no idea how fast we can multiply that if people got their act together and really aimed at it. is with people that we're probably running at about 51% of our capacity. I often ask how many hours a day you waste or how many hours a week you waste. The classic answer is something like 4 to 6 hours a day. Inefficient studying, watching things that not only do you not want to watch, that you don't even care about, that make you feel horrible about watching after you're done. That's probably 4 hours right there. Well, that's 25 hours a week. It's 100 hours a month. That's 2.5 full work weeks. It's half a year of work weeks per year. You're wasting $50,000 a year, and you are doing that right now. And so if your life isn't everything it could be, you could ask yourself, what would happen if you just stopped wasting the opportunities that are in front of you? You'd be, who knows how much more efficient, 10 times more efficient, 20 times more efficient. You have no idea how efficient people get. It's off the charts. What would you be like? 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 Well, and if we all got our act together collectively and stop making things worse, because that's another thing people do all the time. Not only do they not do what they should to make things better, they actively attempt to make things worse because they're spiteful or resentful or arrogant or deceitful or homicidal or genocidal or all of those things all bundled together in an absolutely pathological package. Pathological package. Pathological package. If people stop really, really trying just to make things worse, we have no idea how much better they would get just because of that. So you might say, well, what would happen if you abided by your conscience for 5 years? Or what sort of position might you be in? What would you be like? 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 Okay, so here's the problem. There's a big problem here. The problem is, it's true. You're oppressed, 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 you're oppressed. God only knows why. You're oppressed, 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 you're oppressed. God only knows why. Maybe you're too short or you're not as beautiful as you could be, or your grandparent was a serf. Likely, because almost everybody's great-grandparent was. You know, you're not as smart as you could be, and you have a sick relative, and you have your own physical problem. Frankly, you're a mess. Frankly, you're a mess. And you're oppressed in every possible way, including your ancestry and your biology. The entire sum of human history has conspired to produce victimized you with all your individual pathological problems. It's like, yes! True! You're oppressed, 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 you're
woman who has 2 children and one of them isn't very healthy. And then, well, I'm a Hispanic woman and I have a genius son who doesn't have any money so that he can't go to university. My husband is an alcoholic brute. It's like, well, yeah, that sucks too. And so, let's fix all your oppression. Let's fix all your oppression. Let's fix all your. And we'll take every single thing into account, and then we'll fix yours too. We'll take every single thing into account. It's like, no, you won't. No, you won't. No, you won't. Because you can't. You can't. It is technically impossible. You're oppressed, 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 you're oppressed. God only knows why. You're oppressed, 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 you're oppressed. God only knows why. First of all, you can't even list all the ways that you're oppressed. Second, how are you going to weight them? Third, who's going to decide? That's the bloody thing. Who's going to decide? Who's going to decide? That's the thing. You have to fractionate the oppressed all the way down to the level of the individual. Oh, that's what the West figured out. It's not an accident that the axiomatic Western individual is someone who is unfit, cross, and tortured. It's like, yes, right, exactly. The truth, you know. Bite off a little more than you can chew, you get stronger. And you do that in the gym, for example. When you go lift weights, you lift weights that are a little heavier all the time. And as a consequence, you develop yourself physically and you turn into who you could be. You turn into more than you are. More than you are. Who you could be. More than who you are. More than you are. More than who you are. Who you could be. More than who you are. More than you are. There's a mythological trope that I discuss fairly frequently about rescuing your father from the belly of the dragon or the belly of the beast. You see it in The Lion King. You see it when Simba is being initiated by the baboon, and he ends up contemplating himself in a dark pool, and then his father appears in the sky. And then in the Pinocchio story, when he's trying to become a genuine human being, instead of a marionette pulled by other people's strings, or a liar, or a jackass, because those are his alternate destinies, he goes down to the darkest place he could find, the bottom of the ocean, and finds the biggest monster he can look at, and inside he finds his father, and then rescues him. More than who you are. Who you could be. More than who you are. More than you are. More than who you are. Who you could be. More than who you are. The question is, why do you find your father when you look into the abyss? Imagine someone's pursuing a goal. Some of the things they have to accomplish or confront on the way to that goal frighten them. and they start to avoid, and then they get more afraid, and their ability to pursue their goal or to accomplish their goal deteriorates because they're avoiding. If you're a psychotherapist or even a friend or a supportive loved one, you're going to encourage the person to face the challenges that are making them afraid, to face them voluntarily. What happens as a consequence of that is that the person usually is able to overcome those fears and develop the necessary skill and to prevail. That's partly because, not so much because they get less afraid, but because they get more skilled and more courageous. If you bite off a little more than you can chew, you get stronger as a consequence. And you do that in the gym, for example, when you go lift weights. You lift weights that are a little heavier all the time. And as a consequence, you develop yourself physically and you turn into who you could be. You turn into more than you are. Okay, so if you face fears a little bit at a time, fears and challenges, and you do that voluntarily, then you become more than you are. Okay, now let's recast that in archetypal language and make it into a kind of ultimate. If you want to become everything that you could be, then you look into the abyss itself, which is the darkest place that you can possibly contemplate. The terror of mortality and insanity and of suffering and of malevolence, all of those. It would be like looking into hell, I suppose. And then by voluntarily doing that, you call upon the strongest part of yourself to respond. And the strongest part of yourself is symbolized as the sleeping father nested inside the beast. It's like an answer to Nietzsche's conundrum. If you look long enough into an abyss, then the abyss looks into you. It's like, well, if you look long enough into an abyss, past when the abyss looks into you, you see who you could become in the form of the great ancestral figures nested inside the catastrophe of life. Then you can join them. You can incorporate that and become stronger. And none of that's going to happen without the demand that's placed on you by willing to confront the full terror of life, the reality of suffering and death, the ever-looming presence of malevolence in your own heart and in the heart of other people. So it's evil and suffering. If you do it forthrightly, then you discover who you could be as a consequence. And who you could be is the solution to malevolence and suffering. More than you are. Who you could be. More than you are. More than you are. More than you are. Who you could be. More than you are. More than you are.
Such a brilliant conceptualization that inside the darkest place is the heroic ancestor whose identity you could incorporate. Perfect. It's perfect. And I really believe it's true. And what it does is it says that the human being is actually stronger than the greatest challenge that can be set before him or her. What should move forward in time with me, and what should be let go as if it's dead wood? The more dead wood that you let go of and burn off when you have the opportunity, the less it accretes around you.
Dead wood. Dead wood. Wood. Dead wood. Here's something interesting about forest fires. People have been trying to prevent forest fires for a long time. It's because forest fires burn up the forest, and that can't be good. But here's what happens if you don't let forest fires burn. Forests collect a lot of dry branch branches, right? Because tree branches die and wood falls on the forest floor and collects. The amount of flammable material keeps increasing with time. And that's not so bad if it's wet, but if the amount of flammable material is increasing and it gets really dry and then it burns, then you have a real problem. The forest fire can burn so hot that it burns the topsoil right off, in which case you don't have a forest at all anymore, you just have a desert. Dead wood. Dead wood. Dead wood. Dead wood. Lots of trees are evolved to withstand forest fires of a certain intensity, and some won't even release their seeds unless there's been a fire. And so a little bit of fire at the right time can stop everything from burning to the ground. And that's also a really useful insight, a metaphorical insight into the nature of sacrifice, right? It's also a lot easier to let go of something when you're deciding to let go of it, because you've decided yourself that you're done with that. It's a weak part of you. It needs to disappear. You do that yourself, it's much better and much easier than it is if it's taken away from you forcibly, in which case you're very much likely to fight it. Dead wood. Dead wood. Dead wood. Dead wood. As you elevate your aim, you create a judge at the same time. The new ideal, which is an ideal you, that becomes a judge because it's above you. The judge tells you what's useless about yourself, and then you can dispense with it. And you want to keep doing that, and then every time you make a judge that's more elevated, then there's more useless you that has to be dispensed with. And then if you create an ultimate judge, which is what the archetypal imagination of humankind has done, say, with the figure of Christ, you have a judge that says, get rid of everything about yourself that isn't perfect. Dead wood. Dead wood. Dead wood. Dead wood. It's a phoenix-like process, right? You're shedding all those elements of you that are no longer worthy of the pursuits that you're valuing. And then I would say the idea here is that as you do that, you shape yourself ever more precisely into something that can withstand the tragedy of life and that can act as a beacon to the world. That's the right way of thinking about it. Maybe first to your friends and then to your family. It's like it's a hell of a fine ambition, and there's no reason that it can't happen. You know, every one of you knows people who are really bloody useful in a crisis, and people that you admire, right? You can think of all those people as partial incarnations of the archetypal Messiah. That's exactly right. Dead wood. Dead wood. Dead wood. Dead wood.
And the more that manifests itself in any given person, then the more generally useful and admirable that person is in a multitude of situations. And we don't know the limit to that. I read this New Testament line decades ago. I could never understand it. The line is, the meek shall inherit the earth. And I thought,
There's something wrong with that line. It just doesn't make sense to me. Meek just doesn't seem to me to be a moral virtue. Meek is not a good translation. What it means is this: those who have swords and know how to use them, but keep them sheathed, will inherit the wood. Will inherit the wood. Those who have swords and know how to use them, but keep them sheathed, will inherit the wood. That's a big difference. It's so great. You should be a monster. You should be a monster. You know, because everyone says, well, you should be harmless, virtuous. You shouldn't do anyone any harm. You should sheath your competitive instinct. You shouldn't try to win. You don't want to be too aggressive. You don't want to be too assertive. You want to take a back seat and all of that. It's like, no. Wrong. You should be a monster. You should be a monster. Absolute monster. And then you should learn how to control it. It's like, is there something wrong with being competitive? There's nothing wrong with it. There's something wrong with cheating. There's something wrong with being a tyrant. There's something wrong with winning unfairly. All of those things are bad. But you don't want people to win? What's the difference between trying to win and striving? You want to eradicate striving? One definition of a winner is someone who never let losing stop them. Never let losing stop them. Never let losing stop them. Buckle. You should be a monster. You should be a monster. You should be a monster. Life isn't a game. It's a series of games. And the right ethic is to be the winner of the series of games. And part of that means, well, you have to learn how to be a good loser. Because you're not going to win every single game. You should be a monster. You should be a monster. You should be a monster. You can pick your level of competition in life to some degree. So let's say you pick a level of competition where you're always winning.
well, all that means is you picked the wrong level of competition.
Let's say you're a grandmaster chess player and all you do is play amateurs, and every night you go home and congratulate yourself on what a genius you are because you just stomp these people left, right, and center. It's like, you're not a genius. You're a dimwit. What you should be doing is playing people who are beating you like as much as you can tolerate. You want to be on the edge where your skills are being developed. Loss is always a possibility. Loss is always a possibility.
Be a monster. Be a monster.
People often ask me, do you believe in God? I don't like that question.
All right, so I got like 5 minutes before I need to quit, and I think I'm gonna stop here. Let me know what you guys think about the work I did. I know I've been quiet. I got this bad toothache, and I didn't really feel like talking much, but I told you guys already, though, when I work on Englewood, I'm gonna try to focus and drill down on Englewood. So I'm aware that issue number 1 is actually kind of boring because not a lot is happening here. I mean, there's like some, it's mostly talking about past events that we're looking at. So I have a script for an issue 0, which is 3 pages. I think it's meant to tease out the whole thing. I'm going to start working on those as soon as I'm done with page 4. I'm going to go to issue 0 and make those 3 pages. Those are more fun. I mean, these aren't not fun, but, you know, it's just like exposition and setup and, you know, narrative and whatnot. So, but yeah, let me know what you guys think about that. Hit the like button. I'm going to grab another cup of coffee really quick, and I'll talk to you guys just before I get out of here.
But I act as if he exists. Then with regards to these other issues, the divinity of Christ, I would say the same. Problems with the question formulation obtained. What do you mean by divine? And also, what do you mean by Christ? These are very, very difficult questions. Now, I believe that the Logos is divine. If by divine you mean of ultimate value, of ultimate transcendent value, yes, it's divine. It's associated with death and rebirth. Clearly, I act as if God exists because the Logos dismantles you and rebuilds you. I act as if God exists. That's what happens when you make an error. When you make an error, some part of you has to go. I act as if God exists. That's a sacrifice. You have to let it go. Sometimes it's a big part of you. I act as if God exists. Sometimes it can be such a big part of you that you actually die.
All right, I'm back. Yeah, you know, this is my first time checking this thing out. I saw this, they call it JBP Wave Genesis, a Jordan Peterson lo-fi hip-hop album. It's okay. It's like, I like Peterson. I just thought I'd be nice to offer something different. But it's, I don't have criticisms of sampling Peterson's voice. It's just the music itself is just kind of mediocre, but it served a purpose, I guess, of keeping things interesting while I was working on this. So I'm saved. Let me see where we are there. I mean, I like the way this is going. I just want to add like the backgrounds, and I'll refine that first panel. I ended up doing a lot more work on the other 3 and not so much on the first one. But the first one, there isn't much going on, so just like people talking. But anyway, yeah, so it yeah, I'm pretty happy with this so far. So what I'm gonna do, since I finished warm-up Wednesday, like that Badger Chan, I've finished it as much as I want, although I could do more. I'm going to start finishing up people's request stream artwork on Wednesdays until it's all done. There isn't much to do except finish that that comic book cover for Exploding Prinny. And by the way, Exploding Prinny, if you're watching, I never moved the money from my PayPal into my bank account, and I think you got refunded. So check your email, check your PayPal, and see, because I don't have it anymore. It timed out and sent back to you because I didn't get a chance to go and like move it over. So sorry about that. I dropped the ball there, I guess. In addition, again, later on today, I'm going to be talking to the CEO of eGuard Watches. I'm pretty excited about that. I hope that he doesn't suddenly have to do something else. And then after that, I'm going to the dentist, and they're gonna, I'm gonna get an X-ray and was an X-ray and an examination. And I pinpointed the pain, and it's actually not my chipped tooth. I don't know, like the pain in my mouth has changed. It doesn't hurt as much, and but it's more centered. Like I know where it's coming from. I'm gonna deal with it anyways. If the music is too good, you can't concentrate on work. I get that. Well, it's, yeah, like if I played like my favorite songs, I could, but I'd probably end up singing more than drawing. So, but I don't know. And also, like, most of my favorites, like the stuff I'd like to listen to would get me, like, I wouldn't just get a copyright claim, which I could deal with. I get copyright claims every time I make a video. I would get a copyright strike because I'd like want to listen to, you know, my music, like Led Zeppelin and Queen and fucking Michael Jackson, whatever, you know, whatever. I have music from all over the spectrum that I like, and I'm sure I'd get like a copyright strike for some of it. But excuse me. You know, I wanted to mention something about Jordan Peterson now that I've been listening to him. I know there are people that are critical of Jordan Peterson for a number of reasons. I know that he pisses off the left because he challenges them. I know he pisses off people on the right for some reason because they think that he's not a real conservative, so they start doing purity testing. I know he pisses off skeptics because he's taken some of their thunder away. I know he's pissed off atheists because he legitimizes Jesus and Christianity in some ways. But what I don't like, I like Jordan Peterson, but I don't think I'm going to worship him like some of his fans do. But I like him. I like what he has to say. But the thing that the thing that's the most striking is that really, when you think about what Jordan Peterson is saying, most of it is just common sense. Or I would have thought that, because it's stuff that I've always thought and believed, right? Most of what he says is common sense in terms of like what there is to take away. Like, I mean, there's stuff that I learn about, like the symbology of the Bible and the symbology of various like forms of storytelling. All fascinating stuff, you know, and I've learned a lot from that. But when it comes down to like the life lessons, when people try to dismissively say that it's just common sense stuff, which I agree, it is common sense stuff, and even Peterson himself has said it's common sense stuff. But you see, where some people would try to use that as a means of dismissing what's being said, I think that it actually makes it more apparent or more clear that what he's saying is important, because apparently common sense isn't very common. And these people that are really like getting into it, that are really getting into Jordan Peterson's teachings, they are people who probably didn't have these things. The people who protect him like he's their father, they probably don't have fathers. I think that says something about why this matters. This is why I mean, I'll criticize Peterson's ideas. I think he gets it wrong when it comes to the left-right paradigm. I think he gets it wrong when it comes to, well, he took back the MGTOW stuff, but I think he like gets it wrong in other ways, like, you know, the history of feminism, these kinds of things that a lot of people get wrong. For sure, I agree with all of that. But the thing is, I can do that with and still see that there's still plenty of value. And again, the fact that there are men that want to see this guy talk, that want to go to his talks and stuff, I mean, I think it tells you just like how desperate men want this. And it's uncommon, but it shows you the need is there. There is a vacuum. And I'm sorry, but I think in some ways Peterson will fill it better than someone like Warren Farrell will. And I like Warren Farrell a lot too, so. But anyway, that is definitely a dead nerve. Sounds like an abscess. Well, I hope it's not, but it is what it is. I'm going to get out of here, so thanks guys for coming on the Confiscate Art stream. This is Englewood page 4. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow on the next one. And over on Badger Live Streams, I'll see you in about an hour for the Fireside Chat. Talk to you guys later. Have a great day.